Hi, Patrick Fulop here at Effective Martial Arts HQ. In this lesson, how to fall intelligently. Alright, so in this video, we're going to cover all the possible ways that you can fall to the ground and ideally transition to the ground so you can pop back up to your feet as quickly as possible. Now, you might have seen this technique taught before, the traditional break fall, where it looks a little bit something like this, where you fall, you slap the ground, and then get up with a technical stand-up. I'm going to introduce the idea that I don't think it's that helpful to drill that technique because there's so many other techniques that you need to drill before. Now, make sure to watch till the end because I'm really going to explore a situation where you should do this technique and specifically a new way to practice it more intelligently so you can actually develop the skills that you need, that this technique is supposed to teach you. But in a nutshell, the more important way to transition to the ground that you should practice is going to be the following, which is the seated fall. So when somebody is taking you down, again, there's a lot of other lines of defense. You want to post, you want to sprawl. Here's the basic sprawl, so check out those videos if you have not already. But let's say that doesn't work. Going to the ground, you're going to reset your base close to you over here, posting with the hand, sliding the hips back, and from there you have a good base with your hips. You can reset your hand, your foot, and technical stand-up back to your striking or standing position. Now, in terms of prerequisites, to be able to do so, you definitely need to be able to move your hips on the ground. So from an already seated position, you need to be able to do the scoot, specifically the backward scoot in this case. And we explored that in detail in the shrimp video. You also need to know the technical stand-up to be able to bring this leg in between this leg and this posting hand to a squat stance like this from where you can comfortably get up. If that's a bit challenging for you, you can definitely do an intermediate step with the knee there on the ground. So going from seated to knee and then to squat, and ideally going from seated to squat stance so you can get up efficiently. So those are the most important prerequisites. In terms of basic fitness, you also need to have a little bit of upper body strength as well. So being able to do a basic push-up, ideally on the feet, but at the very least on the knees here, strong core, so you can push your own weight off the ground and you can hold your weight in a plank position. And ideally, especially for the more advanced variations that we're going to show you a bit later, being able to do a handstand. So this is going to be important. Have upper body strength, being able to bring your feet up above your head and hold this position for a sufficient amount of time. It doesn't need to be minutes, but at least a few seconds where you can comfortably hold this position and have strong arms like so. So those are the most important prerequisites. As well, for the more advanced variations, we're going to see how to use the roll to fall down to the ground. So you need to be able to already roll here on your back. So rock first, and ideally go over your shoulder. So hip to opposite shoulder, so you can roll on the ground. So check out those videos if you have not already. Cards above, description below. Now, let's look at those techniques in more detail. Like we said, the more important one is going to be the seated fall. So typically, when somebody attacks you with a takedown, they're gaining control of your hips and they want to put you on your back, right? It's very important, if you know anything about fighting, it's important that when somebody's trying to put you on your back, you don't go there willingly, okay? So you don't accept that. So that's why you need to have a series of lines of defense to prevent that from happening. So we explored that in previous videos, but essentially the person goes in for a shot, you want to be able to stop him, reset your base, deflect the attack. If they get a bit closer, you want to get underhooks, pull them back up to your level. So again, you can protect your legs. If that doesn't work and you can sprawl, so check out the sprawl video, that's going to be preferable. They go in, they get control of your hips, so you got the shoulder pressure here, but you want to be able to sprawl here to deflect, control the head, get up, go back on a counter offense of your own. So those are going to be your lines of defense. But maybe that doesn't work, right? And the person has control of your legs, and now they're putting your hips on the ground. You can't resist that. Maybe the legs are too tightly controlled, you can't sprawl. So you're going down. When you are going down, you could definitely move your knee over here and bring this leg a little bit closer. From there, you lower your level and post. You can do this very slowly. And eventually you want to do it fast as well and with pressure, but do it slow to start. From there, your feet are close. You want to scoot as you fall. So it doesn't put much stress on your hips. And from there, you reset your base and technical stand-up, which we saw in a lot of detail previously. So that's the seated fall. Most important technique that you should practice on a regular basis. You could do it in a straight line. The person takes you down here, you fall straight back, slide, reset, get up. Sometimes it takes a few steps to reset the distance. Maybe you go a few times here, and then eventually you're able to stand up. It's important as well to practice it in an angle. Sometimes maybe the person goes here and they want to take you down by cutting the corner. So you might be spinning as you fall here. And again, head forward. You need to have a good seated position, right? Head further forward than the knees, hips far back. So you have base with your hips. That prevents you from going to your back. Remember, there's going to be pressure on you here. So here, technical stand up. So seated fall in a circle. Here, breathing out. Very important. And try not to smash your hips on the ground. Post here and bring the hips away. It's important as well that you don't post in the direction that you're falling, because then you can really hurt your shoulder in that case. So we want to post here and get our hips away from that so that we can comfortably go to the ground. And then here, the person's going to be on our hips. We want to push them away. Another little follow-up that's important as well is maybe to create that space and free that bottom leg, we want to do kind of a bridge first. So it's a posting bridge, let's call it. So leg here, create space with the hip, try to push them away and extract the bottom leg so that we get back to our standing position. Again, here, take us down and we reset our base, bridge first and get up. Okay, so that's our seated fall, the most important technique. Now, before that happens, we should have another series of lines of defense. Posting, underhooks, sprawl, but also there's other things you can do that you need to be able to drill quickly. So the most simple one, specifically in the case of a single leg, is going to be, they have your leg over here. You want to be able to use your hands to reset your base over here. So we still have access to our partner. You can still see the person in the back. They have control of your legs, but maybe not of your hips. And from there, you can reset your base and go back to standing, facing them. So you want to drill that. This is a helpful drill, being able to post on the hands and get back to facing your opponent. Post on the hands and get back to facing. And you always want to do everything on both sides as well. Here, posting the hands, facing your opponent. So that's posting. This is where the upper body strength becomes important, being able to handstand or push up. Next up, you also want to be able to cartwheel. So this is also from a single leg situation, specifically when they try to elevate your leg. So maybe we can get that leg free and then reset our base on the other side. So they lift the leg, they try to get us down. We're going to post, but then we're going to reset with the legs on the other side if we can free the grip. Okay? Now, the cartwheel might be challenging for you. So if you're just starting out, here's how to be able to do a cartwheel. Again, imagining that we're facing the opponent here, right? We're just going to go to the basics now. We go here, we're going to face away. We're going to go hand, so right hand, let's say I have left leg in front. I'm going to go right hand behind me here. I'm going to go the other hand over here. And the simplest way to do a cartwheel is just to bring this foot on the other side of my hand and then this foot on the other side of my foot. So that's like a very, very beginner cartwheel. So hand, hand, foot, foot. And as you get a little bit more comfortable, you can increase the elevation with the feet. You can just go a little bit up here, a little bit up, until you're eventually able to throw your legs all the way above your head. And if you are even more comfortable, you want to be able to do the explosive jumping cartwheel. Here, landing softly. Here, and even the one-handed cartwheel like so. Like so. Now, when it's a combat situation, remember the person has our leg, we will be facing away, resetting the base, and again facing the person that was there. And this side, person has our leg, we get it free, we'll cartwheel, and we face him over there. So having a basic cartwheel will come in handy in certain situations. And it's a good athletic movement to be able to drill, to be comfortable going from posting with the hands back to the feet. Another option as well, which is helpful, is when you go to your back, you can use a roll to go back to your feet very, very quickly. So that can happen either facing away, I'm going to do a dive roll. This is where you need to be able to do the basic roll first from a combat-based position and back to here. But if you're on your feet and the person's wrestling you, they have your leg face away here, and you can roll on this shoulder or this shoulder, whichever you prefer. It's good to be able to do both sides. You're going to grab the ground with your hands. This is where the handstand is really useful. So having strong arms and crunching the abs and rolling over your shoulder to your opposite hip, land like so, and then immediately face your attacker. Again, here has my leg, and I can roll on this hand or this hand as well. So either shoulder to opposite hip, here, and facing the attacker. From the other side, same thing, here, facing away, dive roll, and the other leg, same thing, facing away, dive roll. Okay, coming back to our combat ready position. Drill that. Go back to your combat ready position every time, and even practice countering with a strike. You can do cartwheel and counter, or you can do dive roll and counter. Okay, very helpful. Now, as a cartwheel, dive roll, very important to drill. The other thing you need to drill is rolling backwards. This is going to be from a different situation. Let's say the person doesn't really have your leg, but they really push you backwards, or they make you lose your step, maybe they trip you, whatever. And you have backwards force that's really powerful, and you don't have time to post, and it's too strong, then you can go to your hip, round your body, and go over your base here as you roll back. And again, we're back facing our imaginary opponent when you're drilling solo. Again, person pushes you, you absorb the ground with your legs, you go hip, round body. Really important to squeeze your abs here. Breathe out and back to your standing position, ready to attack. Other side, same thing. Hip to opposite shoulder, violent force, roll, and back on the offense. Okay, so that's the back roll as a way to transition to the ground intelligently and going back to your feet, which is the objective. Now, in certain cases, maybe for the seated fall that we did earlier, sometimes the pressure is too great. Okay, so we're here and we feel we're not going to be able to hold that person off with this arm. They're progressing to our upper body, our base is collapsing over here. It might be in our best interest here to go face away from the person, hand down, and from there, we can use our feet to pop back up to a position we call 4 points. That might be possible. There is a risk involved over here because we are exposing our back, but we are not going to our back. So if we monitor that threat and be conscious of the possible hooks that are coming in and quickly go back to our standing position, they're still behind us, we're maybe in a back body lock, but we're standing. From there, we can break the grip and go back and face them. Okay? So that's the going to 4 points or popping back up. So here they take us down, seated fall. We can't base and technical get up, even with a bridge. So we're going down, we'll face away, block it, pop back up, hips in one violent motion, and then immediately here face the person to defend. So that's popping back up to 4 points. That's not all. Okay, we also need to be able to collapse to the ground intelligently. This is mostly for slam defense. So maybe the person picks us up squarely in the air and we're going down to the ground. Now we have no other choice but to post on the hand. We can't just go to our back or post on our head to fall. But there's a key transition here. We don't want to post directly where we're going. Maybe imagine my foot is not on the ground here. The person is controlling my base entirely. They have my hips up in the air, my feet up in the air. I want to be posting away from my projected center of mass. So not here, but here. So let's say I'm falling this way, I want to post here. So in that case, I'm going to use the side collapse technique. So posting here, hand, elbow, shoulder, and then we're in bottom guard. We went to our back because there was no other choice. From there, we're going to need to fight our way up. But at least we protected the injury on our shoulder and we managed that transition effectively. If you're new to this, a good way to practice it when you're just starting, the goal is to bring your shoulder to the ground before your hips. So you can do it from the knees over here. It's a little bit easier. You go straight on the knee over here. Instead of posting directly where you want to go, which could put stress on your shoulder, especially if you need to work your fitness still, you post away from it, imagining there's more violent force than what I'm doing now. Here, hand, elbow, shoulder, and hips are still in the air. From there, we're going to need to reset our guard and fight from there. And then you do that progressively a little bit faster. Breathing out and going here. Side collapse. Here, shoulder hits the ground before the hips. When you're comfortable with that, you do it from the standing position. Here. And faster and faster. It's not optimal, but you do that when you are going to the ground anyways and you have no base of support on the ground and you can't latch on to the person for whatever reason. So that's the side collapse. That's not all. Now, getting to the essence of the matter, for those who are still watching, the traditional break fall has value, okay? There's definitely something to be learned from it. And this is when you get slammed on your back. So that can happen, but it should only happen when the person has your base of support completely controlled, gets your feet off the ground, and they slam you on your back. Okay? Otherwise, you shouldn't be going there willingly. You can use those previous lines of defense first. Now, when you do go to your back, this technique is valid. It comes from a parkour background. Guys who jump over roofs and stuff like that. It makes sense if you're falling from a second-story building, or for a stuntman, for example. You really want to spread out the impact if you have a violent collision with the ground. But in fighting, the reality of the matter is your hands are most likely going to be busy doing something, grabbing or protecting as you're going down. So the traditional break fall would be to go from a standing or a crouching position, falling here and slapping the ground. My contention is that it's not that important to slap the ground, especially if you're falling from a human height. Okay, so the more important aspect of the technique, though, is to be breathing out and to protect your head from impact on the ground. Think about it. When you're falling, the only difference by slapping the ground is you're taking away the weight of your arms to your collision with the ground. So if your hands are here, you're falling with your weight of your arms on top of you. If your arms are on the side, you're letting load a little bit. But from a wrestling standpoint, it doesn't make that much of a difference. Plus, what you want to be practicing is your collision with the ground. So in this case, we want to simulate that by falling with a straight back. So instead of just rolling to our back, in which case we might as well roll back in this case, we want to fall flat. So simulate that, kind of like you fall here. Now, the most important aspect of that technique is to be breathing out on the way down and to have your chin to your chest. Here. You also want to ideally bring your feet up so you have a guard, but we're going to simulate, the correct way to do it would be with a round back. We're going to simulate with a flat back so that we can get used to that impact, so that our breath will not be cut off as we hit the ground, because that's the danger. When you hit the ground hard, your breath can be cut off, and then if you're in a fighting situation, you're in a really bad spot. So here, hands here, falling flat, breathing out the whole time. And the head is really important too. We don't want to have our head here and go down like this, because there's going to be a whiplash effect. We want to have our head straight, and as we go down, right before we hit the ground, we look forward. So we jam our neck muscles forward right at the moment before we hit the ground. And we are breathing out the whole time. So again, here. And as you get more comfortable, you want to do it from a crouching stance. Here. Careful, okay, don't hurt yourself, but you want to simulate that because you want to be comfortable falling kind of hard on your back. If you're not comfortable from the seated position, falling flat like this, if your neck is not strong enough, if your lungs, you're not used to it either, don't do that more advanced variation I just did. But you want to be practicing that. That's where I think the break fall really has value. And if you are falling from a higher structure, then yeah, it makes sense to have your hands slap the ground at the same time. But in a combat situation, you want to use your hands for more intelligent defense so you can get grips, advantageous grips, or protect yourself against possible attacks that are coming at you. And that's it, guys. A quick recap. First off, you definitely want to have your fitness on point. This is the first aspect you should develop as a beginner martial artist. You want to be strong. If you take only one thing out of this video, it should be the seated fall. So being able to reset our base, pose, and slide our hips to a nice seated position, reset, technical stand up, so we get up efficiently. And then we have our other variations that we saw. So posting here, we had the cartwheel here, facing, going back on the offense. We had our dive roll here, front or back. Again, going back on the offense immediately. We had our side collapse. If we're controlled with the hips and we can't help, we'll go to the ground. We want to collapse and post away from our projected center of mass. And the last aspect is be able to fall flat on our back, focusing on the two most important aspects, which are breathing out and head forward so there's no whiplash and no chance of hitting your head on the mat, even when you fall from a higher position. Now, further considerations, it's also important to drill the other aspects of your wrestling defense. So definitely the sprawl, you should practice a lot. Check out that video if you have not already. And your wrestling offense. Make sure you're comfortable with your basic shots, level change, penetration steps, and all kinds of cool follow-ups that we explore in all detail in that video. You want to combine that as well with your strong basic striking skills for offense and defense, punching, kicks, and different lines of defense for striking, as well as grappling, in which there's a lot of techniques to know to maneuver your body efficiently and effectively in the grappling range. So you can focus on moving your hips and getting to advantageous positions on the ground. So once again, this is what we do here at Effective Martial Arts. We basically created a belt system for MMA. So one structured curriculum for striking, wrestling, and grappling. And we're just done with our white belt curriculum right now. These are all the solo drills that you need to practice. So check out the playlist below for access to all those videos. And then we're going to get into more advanced partner applications. So make sure to subscribe to our channel if you have not already. So till next time, it was a real pleasure doing this video for you guys. Signing off, Patrick Phillip here at Effective Martial Arts HQ in Pointe Claire, West Island of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Thank you very much for watching. Practice well.